Hi there, guys. This week I thought we would do a wee bit on dialogue. Okay, so what I've got here is just a wee piece of kind of fiction that I've made up there. If you compare this to how you might see, dialogue and things like that in a book or something, it doesn't really look like the way that it would look like in a book. Here, okay, what you want to do is anytime you're starting a new paragraph, you want to have that indented. What I mean by indented. So in here, there's this wee kind of thing here, this little like triangle, kind of pyramid looking thing. And what you want to do is this rectangle that's on top of the kind of upside down triangle. You want to take that and you want to move that across your page. Usually I do it to there, to the 0.5. And what that'll do is every time you take a new paragraph, it's going to indent it like that. So if I was to take a new paragraph there, it's going to indent it there. If I take a new paragraph here, it's going to indent it there. All right. So that's the first thing that we do. All right. And what that's going to do is just makes it look a wee bit better. What this also means as well, anytime that you take or you talk about dialogue, that's something that you want to do. You want to take a new paragraph and you also want to indent it like that. Okay. One thing I also like to do is, if you're using the computer, this wee section here that's line spacing. Okay, and this will be similar on Word and things like that. All these options are still there on Word. They might look a wee bit different or be in a wee bit a different place, but they're roughly all in the same place, and they've all got the kind of the same symbols and things like that as well. So I usually make the line spacing just a wee bit bigger, just to kind of separate the words a wee bit. And then also what I do is I like using Times New Roman because I think it looks quite nice. Let's take a wee read through this then, and what we'll do is we'll have a look at the actual dialogue itself, and we'll think about kind of what we're going to do with that. And then I'll probably write a wee bit more dialogue, a wee bit of back and forth between the two characters here. Okay, so first of all, just to kind of set the scene, Darren walked down the street until he got to the end of the road. On his right was his normal route to school, but on his left was something he had never seen before. In the middle of the street there was a large door. There was no building surrounding it, it was just a door and nothing else, sitting in the middle of the road. Take it with that wee comma. Beside the door was a tall man in a suit. Maybe I'm taking a paragraph there, right? And that just makes it look a wee bit neater as well. Okay. Beside the door was a tall man in a suit wearing a large brimmed hat. Darren began making his way down his normal route to school, but he couldn't get the door out of his head. He had to know what it was, why it was there. "Hey, mister," Darren shouted at the man with the hat. Okay, I would take that away. Usually when you're taking a new paragraph, so you're thinking to yourself, why would I take a new paragraph? And if you do take a new paragraph, when do I do it, etc. The way I think about it is, you want to take a new paragraph. One reason is that you don't want too much stuff clumped together. Already this looks like quite a lot. You also want to make sure that it's not too clumped together, because readers get kind of bored if there's too much together. The taking paragraphs makes things just look a wee bit neater. The other big thing for paragraphs, and the main thing, is that you take a new paragraph when you're talking about something different, or you're talking about, you're moving on from whatever you were talking about before. So here, I mean, I could do it here because I've kind of talked about the door and then whatever, but it doesn't really make sense. Probably a better place to put the new paragraph is here, because here I'm talking about the door. There was no building surrounding it, it was the door. Beside the door was a tall man in a large brimmed hat. Okay, so I'm talking about only that. I'm describing the door, I'm describing what's there, the street, describing the door, describing what's there. But then I talk about, well, Darren's starting to do something, so my kind of perspective shifted. That's another thing to do if your perspective shifts. So this is, my perspective is, the door and everything that's happening with the door, and then this is back to Darren. Alright, so let's say that that's a new paragraph then, and that just looks a wee bit neater there. And both our paragraphs start with Darren, Darren, Darren. And usually as well, you want to mix in a wee bit of, I've used Darren quite a lot there, Darren, Darren, Darren. So maybe you want to change maybe one of these Darrens to, he began me his way down. Where's the story going? What are everybody's kind of motivations? What are things that people are likely to say as well? So here I've done a hey mister, so that could be American, it could be British. That's another thing to think about as well, is like, what kind of voice does your character have? So a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll think of like a particular, maybe another character from another show or something like that, or maybe I'll think of someone I know in real life. But you want to kind of, oftentimes you want to be able to tell who the character is just by the way that they're speaking and the dialogue, the way that it appears on the page, as opposed to having to constantly use things like Darren shouted at the man, or this person said this, or blah blah blah. Sometimes just having, you know, a kind of unique way of speaking is like super helpful in distinguishing like different characters in the kind of chain of dialogue where it's like, you know, someone says something and then someone says something else and then blah blah blah. Okay, so I've got some stuff here, all right, and I've got quite a lot, and it's really just to show you kind of different types of dialogue and how dialogue would appear normally, maybe like in a book, and what you're thinking about when you're kind of adding this dialogue in, because there's kind of different things to think about. All right, so again, if you're looking at this, okay, you can see obviously here's all the indents and things like that. We've got all of that there. I'm going to show you as well as the format and, you know, how this kind of stuff's going to work. All right, so. So, hey mister, Darren shouted at the man with the hat. Alright. The man stood in silence. Darren made his way to him and the door. He couldn't see the man's face as he had his head tilted and the brim of his hat covered it. Alright, so what you can see here, alright, if I'm going to write something after the dialogue, something like this here, Darren shouted at the man with the hat, then I don't need to take a new paragraph for that, okay? So if I'm making a sentence here that describes what's just been said in the dialogue. So, hey mister, Darren shouted at the man with the hat. Alright, so that's a piece of information that's describing something about this dialogue here. That's something that you would keep on the same line as the dialogue, and because it's not long either, it takes less than a full line, we just keep that there. Alright, but when I then go to say the next thing, whatever else happens in the story, then I take a new paragraph, and that's when we've got the indent here. Alright, so Darren shouted at the man with the hat, new paragraph, the man stood in silence. Darren made his way closer to him and the door. He couldn't see the man's face as he had his head tilted and the brim of his hat covered it. Again, new paragraph, this is a new line of dialogue. Can you hear me? Hello. Now I'm not describing the dialogue in any way, okay, I'm moving on with the story, and it's going to be, you know, and it's going to keep going from here. So because I'm not describing what we said in this dialogue, I'm going to take a new paragraph, and even though this is short, because it's not describing this, then I'm taking this new paragraph, alright? And then I'm going to keep going. The man still did not answer. Darren kept approaching until he was a foot from the man and the door. The door itself looked perfectly ordinary. It was wooden, painted white, and had a round brass handle. It looked like it could have come from his grandmother's house. Hey, you can't just keep this door here in the middle of the street, mister. You're going to block the traffic. So another thing I'm doing here as well is when Darren's talking, a lot of the time I'm using the word mister. Okay, and what we're going to see later on is when there's a wee bit of back and forth between him and the man at the door, that's going to indicate for us when kind of Darren's talking as opposed to when the man's talking, and in that way then I don't always need to say things like Darren said, Darren whatever. And you can see here I'm not really saying I've used, you know, Darren said once, and the rest of it, the dialogue, I'm not really saying. Now the reason for that is because usually when you're saying this character said or something like that, then you're only doing that because you're trying to indicate who specifically in that scene is talking, when you've got multiple characters who could all be talking. But right now we know that Darren is the only one who couldn't be talking, so I don't need to keep putting in said Darren or Darren said this or Darren shouted or anything like that. Now, another thing you can do, obviously, I put in Darren shouted here, is if you want to add description to the way someone's talking, then you're more than welcome to do that. However, a lot of the time it comes across in what they're saying, so it's not always super necessary. I'm on the side of, you know, not using it a lot, but that's totally up to yourself. That's your own kind of, you know, whatever you call that, your own style, or what you think works best, or what you like the sound of. So have a play about with it and kind of see what you like there. So where were we? So you're going to block traffic. The man still said nothing, but as Darren listened intently, he could hear a loud snorting noise coming from the man. He was snoring. Hey mister. Now I've put this in all caps. That's something you can do with the exclamation mark at the end, and that's obviously, you know, going to, rather than me saying hey mister, you know, and putting it maybe in hey mister, shouted Darren, you know, because then you're reading that hey mister and you're kind of reading it as that, and then you're reading that, shouted Darren, all right, okay, but I can be a bit more direct with it, and I can do it, you know, with capitals. Hey, mister, and it just visually it looks, it's got that exact thing that I'm looking for that I done there with the lowercase and in the description after it, but I can see it visually instantly. That's just something that I like to do. Again, it's your own stylistic choice, what you prefer to do, so have a play about with it, but that's kind of what I like to do, and you're definitely more than welcome to do things like this as well. The man in the hat jumped and clung to his hat so it didn't fall off his head. What? I'm awake, I swear. So this is something as well that I use quite a lot, which is these kind of dashes and things like that as well. You can use dashes in dialogue to signify that something's being interrupted as well. Alright, so something I don't have here, alright, is, but I'll show you in just a wee minute. So, for instance, what? He's interrupting himself there. So rather than finishing saying what, he just says what, and then we've got this wee dash here to signify I'm awake, I swear. So he's kind of interrupting himself. Now, if this was maybe I swear, maybe like say for instance this was like his boss or something, he's pretending he's boss that he's awake, you know, but his boss is really angry at him, so he kind of interrupts him before. You know, so that's him about to explain, oh, this is, you know, the reason why this was happening. What I can do is I can put a dash here, and then that's not good enough, you know, do something like that. And then what this does is, you know, this dash here to, oh, the cat wants out, this wee dash here to this dash here, this basically means that, you know, he was interrupted while he was like mid-sentence, and then this person is coming into with the interruption. So you can use that as well if you're talking about, you know, someone's trying to say something and then someone else cuts in while they're in the middle of saying something and kind of interrupts them in that way. So that's another thing you can use there. Let's just take that out just now because that's not really where our story's going. So I've got Darren saw the man's face for the first time, and much like the door, that too seemed perfectly ordinary. He had a large nose with a bump and crystal blue eyes. The man blinked for a moment as if remembering where and who he was, before staring straight at Darren. As he and Darren stared at each other, the man's eyebrows raised in an expression of visible confusion. Hey, little fella, you can see me? Darren looked at him funny. What kind of question was that? Of course, mister. So again, this is what I was talking about in terms of the back and forth. I'm making Darren say mister a lot, so you know when the dialogue, I'm not saying like this person said this, blah blah blah. The other reason as well is, you know this is the man, because I've said here, they stared at each other, the man's eyebrows raised in an expression of visible confusion. So the last perspective I've had here in this description is the man. So then when this dialogue starts, hey little fella, you can see me, right? As well as the idea of little fella, okay, the man we've described as being quite big, he's a man, whereas Darren is a boy on his way to school, so we know that. So these kind of references here, Mr. Little fella, that immediately, the way that they're referring to each other immediately in the dialogue, I've got, you know, who's speaking to who. So at the end here, I don't necessarily need to say said this person or said that person. And my reason for doing that is just I think that it keeps people in the dialogue a wee bit more, and it means that you're not as taken out of it. So it seems more kind of back and forth as opposed to one person says something and then, you know, there's a lot of kind of in between from the author saying blah blah blah, this thing happened and that thing happened, da, da, da. You do want a wee bit of that here and there, you know, when I say like Darren looked at him funny, what kind of question was that? You know, I'm giving you a wee bit of insight into like what Darren's thinking during this conversation, but I'm not necessarily overusing it here with said this person or said that person. If I don't need to say that because it's very obvious who's saying what, then, you know, I don't think it's super necessary. So, hey little fella, you can see me? Of course, mister. And you can hear me? And if I do this, right? So here, you know, all of these ones, you know, if you're taking away this kind of stuff here and you're only looking at these three here, you might not be able necessarily to tell who's talking. So that was Darren. So this new one we know is going to be, you know, the man. Then we know this one's going to be Darren. Then we know this one's going to be the man. So, you know, if your first line of a dialogue is very clear who the person is, then you know every time you take a new one, it's the other person. This is, of course, if you've got only two people in the scene going back and forth. If you've got a third character, that's probably where you're going to have to add more said this person, said that person. That's when you're going to be using that a lot more, because you want to be super clear who's saying what, and that's then when you kind of play about with stuff, when you like said this person, said that person. All right. You can see me, download it and funny, what kind of question was that? Of course, mister. And you can hear me, and if I do this, the man reaches his arm up up his shirt to his armpit, and moving his elbow up and down, he made farting noises. And you can hear that, he said, ha! I sure can, mister. Alright, so here's another thing as well. I've put in ha 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 here, instead of, Darren laughed. I sure can, mister. I just think because it's dialogue that I like that kind of thing. Some people are not going to like that. Again, this is one of these kind of style things. Let's just finally have a wee look at kind of 3-person dialogue, and we'll finish up just looking at that, and how we're going to structure that a wee bit. And what I'll do is I'll take a new story for this, and we'll just make it super focused on the dialogue with 3 people. Okay, so I've got really just kind of quick dialogue here, alright, and we're just going to have a wee look at it just now, okay? Have you read the paper today, Margaret? Said Mark. He had a massive broadsheet in his hands that was covering his face. No, I haven't. What? Right? And I've said Mark there, okay, but I don't even need to say that. No, I haven't. What? She's going to say something else, but she gets interrupted here. That was that interrupted thing we're talking about. But because, now I don't need to say said Margaret here necessarily, because I've said here, have you read the paper today, Margaret? So we know that the person replying is Margaret, okay, because Mark's explicitly said in this dialogue here that he's talking to Margaret. The massive broadsheet in his hands that was covering his face. No, I haven't. What? Mom, can I have pancakes? Said little Susie. So that's when I've introduced the kind of third character into the dialogue that's happening. Now, I have to explain who this person is, because, we can obviously, even if we didn't have this, right, let's just say it just said, Mom, can I have pancakes? Of course, dear, give me a minute. Right, we know that it's going to be your daughter, okay? But just for the sake of clarity, it's good to have just this in and just explain who this character is in just a wee bit. So, no, I haven't. What? Mom, can I have pancakes? Said little Susie. Of course, dear, give me a minute. What were you saying, darling? There was a robbery last night on Bank Street. Now, we know kind of what little Susie talks like. We've got an indication that, she's younger. She's kind of talking like this. It's unlikely that she's going to now be talking about, this robbery in Bank Street. Whereas we know that Mark is talking about, that something happened in the paper, that there's some sort of like news story going on. So when he says that, I don't really need to put in who said that at the end, because we kind of know who that is. When she says, what were you saying, darling, we know that she's talking about, she's talking to Mark here, so we know that that's what's happened. There was a robbery last night on Bank Street. Someone robbed the bank on Bank Street? No, it was the pizza place next door. How long till they're ready, Mom? Not long now, sweetie, that's strange. If you're going to rob anywhere on that street, you think it would be the bank. Maybe it was too difficult. Now, I could put in here, said Susie again or whatever. The reason deliberately why I've took it out is just to kind of highlight, this message of what I'm saying, and just to kind of reaffirm what I've been saying, which is basically, if I know, right, if I've set up in the beginning, who's talking to who, I've got Margaret, I don't even need to have said Margaret anywhere, but I've already said Mark, said little Susie. I've also, they've all got, this is what I was talking about in terms of the distinctive ways of speaking. So little Susie's got her distinctive way, which is, she's been like, Mom, and talking about, pancakes and stuff like that. She's the only one in this situation who's going to use the term Mom, because because Mark's not really going to say that, etc. She's the one that's focused on the pancakes and things like that as well. So despite the fact that, maybe it's a wee bit confusing here because, I've got 3 characters and I'm not putting in said this person, said that person at the end of these, I don't necessarily need to do that, because what every single person's talking about and is focused on. What they're, likely to be saying and things like that. And so just through the context of what's actually being said, you can tell who is who. Alright, so there was a robbery last night on Bank Street. Someone robbed the bank on Bank Street. No, it was the pizza place next door. We know, that's Mark. That's Margaret. Oh, that's Mark. That's Margaret. That's Mark. That's now Susie, because how until they're ready, Mum? Not long now, sweetie. That's strange. You're going to rob anyone on that street. You would think it would be the bank. maybe it was too difficult, back to Mark and Margaret talking to each other. So that's just a wee example of how you would maybe use the, if you've got 3 people, what you would need to do. You definitely need to maybe set it up in the beginning in terms of this person said this and that person said this, and have distinctive things that they're talking about or distinctive ways that they talk, so that then later on, if you're not going to, say things like said this person, said that person, then you can just get it through the context of what's being said. All right. Well, anyway, that's enough from me. Okay, I hope there's a lot of stuff in that you can use in terms of what we've talked about dialogue there, that you can use in your own writing. So let me know how you got on with that, and I wish you all the best going forward. All right. Thanks very much. See you later, guys. Bye.